This video will cover the best practices and recommended steps for configuring a new SAVI project. By following these guidelines, you'll have an easier time getting your AV control system up and running. Some of the features mentioned in this video are only available in SAVI version 3.5, such as glass view integration. Here's an overview of what we'll be covering. Keep in mind, this video shows the general flow of building a new SAVI project, mainly focusing on the configuration steps within Creator and Facility View. If you need detailed guidance for any of these steps, please refer to the documentation page on the dealer portal or the SAVI training video that covers that topic. Once all your equipment is physically installed and all subnets and VLANs have been configured, the first thing you'll want to do is set a static IP on all your AV equipment. Note that this does not include canvas displays, as these can remain in DHCP mode. When setting static IPs for several identical devices such as the Stream ones, it's helpful to set them in ascending order and take note of the lowest IP in the range, as it can be used later to add all of them at once in Creator. If you're using the QoraLux One Pro, set the static IP through the operating system, and while you're here, you can open the lighting software to set up your DMX universes. Pay attention to the DMX channels and fixture IDs, as you'll need to enter them later on. Before you start adding equipment to the project, it's best to make sure that the basic settings in Creator are configured properly. This includes importing the SAVI license file, setting the server time on the project page, and entering the guide data if you intend to use the program guide and game view features. The next step is to add all your equipment to the project in the Equipment tab. You can find the driver you want by scrolling, but using the search field is usually faster. When adding equipment, keep in mind the equipment closet location is the default, and that most of your AV control equipment will go here. Basically, anything installed in a rack can be left in the equipment closet. When adding equipment for a specific room, such as this webOS display, you can create the location directly from the driver card before adding it to the project. Alternatively, you can go to the Location tab and create all your locations at once. When needing to add several instances of a device, such as DirecTV boxes, remember to use the Add Multiple feature to save time, keeping in mind the increment options will automatically assign IP addresses and other values, assuming you configured them correctly already. While it's simpler to add everything at the same time, you can always come back in the future to add newly installed equipment, or you can simply add the devices, like SAVI touchpads, and come back to select their glass views once you've made them. When adding equipment, ensure the drivers are entered with the correct IP address and any necessary settings and options. For instance, all webOS displays intended to be hung in portrait mode need their rotation value manually changed. QoraLux LED zones need a fixture ID and a lighting server selected, and each audio zone can have unique min and max volumes as well as a default volume setting. Each driver is different, so be sure to check them thoroughly during the initial setup and when troubleshooting. While in the Equipment tab, you can use the Auto Discover feature to push the SAVI app to multiple webOS displays, as well as provision all of your touchpad ones. You can also use it to discover the DHCP address for any Stream ones you haven't added yet. Once all the equipment has been added, we can switch to the Connections tab and make the connections between devices. This includes choosing a source for the input of every Stream one, as well as all other physical connections. Generally, you can ignore the output of the Stream ones, since the connected source is now on the network and available for any canvas display. However, if you have a local input plugged directly into a display, like an HDMI, you can make that connection here. For your DSP connections, you'll need to import SAVI links and select sources for them. Each physical input also needs a source selected, and if necessary, change the type. Next, switch to zones and make a selection for each of the audio zones in your project, as well as assigning outputs to them. Since our next step is to build layouts, we'll first need all of our images uploaded to the SAVI Show media library. Once all your media is prepared, you can either switch back to the Layouts tab in Creator or immediately start creating layouts here in SAVI Show. Either way, pay close attention to which layouts are assigned to what displays. If you assign all layouts to all displays, the list of layouts in Facility View can become cluttered and more difficult for end users to navigate through. If you forget to assign a layout to a display where it's needed, it won't show up as an option at all. Next, you can link all your webOS displays to the displays in the project through the Canvas Edit page, assuming you've installed the SAVI app on each of them already. If you weren't able to push the SAVI app to your webOS displays using the Auto Discover feature in Creator, There's an alternative method to install it using an IR remote or a USB keyboard. While on the Canvas Edit page, you can also switch over to the Glass section and link your Touchpad 1s or Glass devices, assuming they've been installed and provisioned. If they aren't, you can do this now or save for later before making your Glass views. Once the webOS displays are all linked, you can visit the Updates page in Creator to verify that the most current firmware is installed on them. If necessary, select all displays that need to be upgraded, and SAVI will go through the process of upgrading each automatically. Before continuing, make sure that all your SAVI lighting drivers are also physically configured with the correct DMX channel info. Now that the core components are all configured, it's good to conduct a preliminary test to ensure basic functionality of all endpoints through SAVI. In Facility View, try assigning various layouts to all of your displays, as well as testing all your sources. Be sure to test all audio and lighting endpoints as well, and physically check that each endpoint is responding to SAVI. This is also a good time to customize your preset buttons for audio zones and lighting zones from the Preset section found in the Facility View menu. Remember that you can set unique levels for each zone. If one or more systems are not responsive, make sure you made all your connections within the Connections tab to include audio zones, Stream 1s, and HDMIs, as well as double-checking the equipment driver was entered with the correct information and addresses. If everything is responsive and working as intended, you can proceed to the more advanced programming steps. First, it's a good idea to build any required lighting scenes. At a minimum, a scene to turn on all lights is a good place to start. From there, scenes for events and other times of day with specific dimming levels or ramp times can also be helpful. Next is macros. Similar to lighting scenes, all on and all off button macros are recommended, so end users can have an easy way to get the lights, displays, and audio up and running quickly. Creating scheduled macros for various open times, closing, and recurring events is also a good idea and can save staff members a significant amount of time. Be sure to discuss other common use cases with your customers to determine which macros would be most helpful. When building them, remember you can have macros launch lighting scenes as well as tell other macros to run. When finished, you should test each macro and triple check that the scheduled times are accurate. It's also a good idea to verify the server time in the Project tab of the Server Configuration page. If this time zone is not set to the same as the venue, the macro will execute at the wrong time. Once your macros are complete, you can program your QoraLux dimmers, switches, and keypads in the System Control tab. However, the devices must be added to the project and provisioned first, so it's easiest to do both of these steps at the same time using the SAVI utility app on your mobile device. After provisioning and adding them to the project through the app, you can program the buttons in the System Control section under QoraLux. Beneath this is the Glass View section for use with SAVI Touchpad 1s and Glass devices. Once created here, you can then pull up the Touchpad 1s or Glass devices you created earlier in the Equipment tab and assign the Glass views to them. Next up is Maps. If you intend to use Map View, click on each location and upload the corresponding image for every location that needs a map view. Remember, if you're wanting a custom map view for something that isn't a room, like a video wall, or you're needing multiple map views for the same room, you'll need to manually create a new location so that you can upload a map for it. Once the maps are uploaded, you can place location buttons intuitively throughout all the maps for easier navigation between them. And finally, you can add all your AV endpoints to each of the images. That should be it for Creator. The next step will be to build at least one custom scene in Facility View. To start, there's only the main scene, which can't be edited or deleted, and it always shows everything in the project with the standard location filters. To make a large custom scene, it's easiest to duplicate the main scene and then customize it with your own sections, filters, and preset buttons. Remember, if you go back later and add new equipment to the project, it will be hidden by default in a custom scene, so you'll need to manually enable new devices in the scene if you want them to be visible. This is why we recommend saving scene creation for the end of the project configuration. Also, whichever scene will be used the most should be set as the default scene, as this is what the user will first see when logging into Facility View. The last step is to create custom users and roles. Remember that users are unique logins for individuals or groups of employees, while roles contain a list of permissions that we can set to either hidden, view only, or full control. Once complete, be sure to assign users to the appropriate roles, or they'll have no permissions and will get an error page after logging in to Facility View. Once everything is finalized, make sure to test everything again, including all automations, logins, and functionality. Make sure to get feedback from the customer on anything that needs to be adjusted or added in. This concludes our SAVI project flow guide. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more SAVI training videos.